So, so in part 1 we discussed about the role of police and about articles 21 and 22. In this video we will discuss about DK Basu guidelines and the role played by the public prosecutor as well as the judge. So, to summarize what we read, the role of police is to investigate, record statements of witness, infer from the data collected, jail the guilt, and file a charge sheet and FIR in the court. Then we saw the rights for accused, that is Article 22 and 21, and we also saw these 5 questions. So we finished part 1 actually. So in part 2 we are going to learn about DK Basu guidelines. Now what are these DK Basu guidelines? DK Basu guidelines are a set of specific requirements passed by the Supreme Court. There are specific requirements and procedures that the police and other agencies have to follow for arrest of any persons. So in order to arrest any person, we have to follow a set of rules, and those rules we call them as DK Basu guidelines. DK Basu guidelines are specific requirements and procedures that the police and other agencies have to follow at the time of arrest or detention. So what the DK Basu guidelines say, the police or the agencies should wear clear, accurate and visible identification and name tags, including their designations. So they should wear accurate, visible identification, and their name tags should have their designations. So this is the first one. Next, it says that a memo of arrest should be prepared. This memo of arrest should include date and time of arrest. Yes, it should be attested by at least one witness. So there should at least be one witness to test it, and it should be signed by the arrested person. This is the second one. The next one is, arrested person has the right to inform a relative or friend. Arrested person has the right to inform a relative or friend, including a well-wisher. And also, if the relative or friend or well-wisher is outside the district, then time, place of arrest, venue of custody should be told to the person. This is 3, this is 4. So DK Basu guidelines are specific requirements and procedures that the police and other agencies have to follow during the time of arrest. So there are actually 4 guidelines or 4 requirements or 4 procedures, we can say. 4 procedures that everyone should follow. The first one is, the police and the agencies that arrest the person should wear clear, accurate and visible identification with their name cards, name tags having designations. Next one is, a memo of arrest should be prepared. The memo of arrest should include the time of arrest, and it should be attested by at least one witness. It should be signed by the arrested person. The third one is that the arrested person has the right to inform any relative or a friend or a well-wisher. If the relative or friend or well-wisher is staying outside the district, then the time, place of arrest, venue of custody can be shared to the person. Now, the next topic we are going to discuss is the role of judge. The role of judge is just like an umpire in a game. And the role of judge is like an umpire in the game. The judge does nothing but conducts an impartial trial in an open court. The role of judge is like an umpire in a game. So in this line we are comparing the role of judge to an umpire in the game. Yeah. The role of judge is to conduct an impartial trial in an open court. So the actual role of judge is to hear all the witnesses and any other evidence presented by the prosecution and defense. So first what the judge does is he hears from all the people. So the witnesses, he sees what all evidence are there, and he also listens to prosecution and defense. So that's the first work the judge does. Work number 1. Next, the judge judges if the person is guilty or innocent based on evidences. So we saw that first the judge hears to whatever the people say, including the witness, the prosecution, whatever evidences he sees, and the defense. Then he comes to a conclusion if the person arrested by the police is guilty or innocent. How he decides if the person is guilty or arrested? Based on evidences. Purely based on evidences. Third one is, if the arrested person is found guilty, the person will be sent to jail or will be imposed a fine, or even both. So first the judge listens to everybody. Next he decides if the person is guilty or innocent. Next he decides if he should be sent to jail or should be fined, or should be sent to jail as well as fined. So this is third. The role of judge is like an umpire in a game. He conducts trials, impartial trial in an open court. First he listens to all the evidences, the witnesses, prosecution and defense. He comes to a conclusion if the arrested person is guilty or innocent based on evidences. If the person is found to be guilty, he will be sent to jail or fined, or both. Next comes our public prosecutor. Who is a public prosecutor? Public prosecutor usually represents the interests of the state. He represents the interests of the state. Role: the public prosecutor's role begins after the police completes its investigation, and public prosecutor has no role to play in the investigation. First, he conducts prosecution on the behalf of the state, not states, state. On behalf of the state. Their duty is to act impartially, present full material of evidence, and allow the court to decide on if the person is guilty or innocent. So public prosecutor represents the interests of states. He has no role in investigating the crime because it is the work of police. Yeah. His role begins after the police finishes the investigation. He conducts prosecution on the behalf of state because he represents the state. He conducts the prosecution on behalf of the state. His duty is to act impartially. He presents the full material of evidence and everything to the court and allows it to decide. So in this part 2 we discussed about we have discussed about DK Basu guidelines, role of the judge, and the role of public prosecutor. So there are a few questions based on what we learned. The first question is, why judge is compared to an umpire? Explain. 3 marks. How is a judge different from prosecutor? Dash represents the interests of state. The dash decides if he or she is a guilt. Why prosecutor has no role to play in investigation? Try all these questions. Thank you.